Right, East Durham Veterans, good evening and welcome to the East Durham Veterans Trust podcast. Tonight I'm joined by a former Navy boy, to say the least. Gavin, welcome.
You all right? You all right?
How we doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Great stuff.
You're all good?
Yeah, more than good, mate, more than good. Gavin, thanks very much for agreeing to come on, mate. Obviously, I've come across you in the recent weeks on Twitter. You know, when we've been sharing out the petition and so on. But before we get started, mate, what I know about you, and obviously I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube and stuff like that about your story. Before we get onto that on this side, just tell us a bit about yourself, mate. You know, how long you served, what you were in, and everything you did.
Yeah, sure. I joined up in 2008, when I was 21. After I turned 21, I always wanted a job in IT and stuff, but it never really panned out. So I worked in several factories, and I kind of was giving up on the IT side. And I was just sick of getting laid off and temporary contracts and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you know, you work here for a month. That's how long a contract is. You're here for a month as an agency worker. You work there a month or 5 weeks, and like, okay, glowing references, well done, but now they don't need you. You know, the person's back off the sick, or the person's back on holiday or whatever, or the order's now finished. We don't need you. I was just sick of all that. So I wanted more of a career. And I always wanted to join the forces, but I've always had a thing for the Navy. And I joined up, and joined up as communications and information system specialist engineer, or CIS for short. Or as you would probably refer to it as signals.
Yeah, that's my background as well. I was ex-Royal Signals. So.
So same language. So I joined up in November 08. After all my training, I was put on the Ark Royal. Lots of people put in for it because where it was going to America. I put in because it was the Ark. I didn't care where it was going. It was in dry dock at the time. I was on my preferences. I said HMS Ark Royal or any other carrier. There was only one other carrier, or any Type 45. But the Ark Royal was the only one I named. And out of my class, I was the only one to get it. And people were quite jealous because it was going to America. Anyway. So I was on the Ark Royal until that was announced it was decommissioned. Shortly after the Queen visited, which I was Royal Guard for, I left. I think it was like Christmas leave. I left the Ark Royal, went on Christmas leave, and on my return, I wasn't going back to the Ark. I then joined HMS Illustrious in dry dock. Just came out of dry dock. It was in refit, unsuitable to actually step on board it, up in Rosyth. So I was basically in a hotel for about a month. But yeah.
In the army, we don't get hotels, we get tents.
Ditch in the middle of a field.
Oh, that's what they would have done with us.
A tree over here. A tree for a bit of shelter. You're lucky it.
So listen, thanks for that intro, mate, about yourself. It's obviously we're going to talk about pretty much you leaving the forces, really. So like I said, I've watched all the YouTube videos, but I've watched some of them, so that I know it pretty much starts with your partner being pregnant in the HMS Illustrious. So if you like to take us away from there, mate, and tell us the story, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Right, so I found out my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, unexpected, we were expecting, and when Aaliyah was born in February in 2012, went on paternity. I put in 2 weeks extra leave, so it was basically off a month. During that, the ship actually came really close to us. We all went on board, to show off my kid and all that. Since the ship was always in Portsmouth, it's pretty rare for it to be in Newcastle, all docked up.
Yeah.
So anyway, went up, and not going in depth, but I was basically being advised there was IT jobs which I worked with on a day-to-day basis for the MOD in Newcastle, and I was basically already people were like, Gav, why don't you like go down that route? You know, you're still doing the same job, but you'll be a civvy and you'll be in Newcastle. And I got email addresses and stuff which were left for me because the main person was the day before I came, and I missed them. So they got email addresses and stuff, and they were handed to us. So you know, it was proper, like it was organized behind my back, which were they trying to get rid of me? But, anyway, I'd done all that. I got invited over, had a tour of the place. I went all suited and booted. It was pretty much set as that was what I was going to be doing. You know, was going to do some work, courses, and it looked like it was going to be a continuation of the career. Right. And about then, that's when I submitted my notice to leave, which is 12 months notice. And then you leave the service. Now, what happened was, if you cast your mind back to 2012, it was all kicking off in Syria.
Yeah.
Now, as ex-signals yourself, you know, sometimes you do see, you know, the signals coming in. I literally seen the signal. Well, we all showed each other. It was like due to the situation in Syria, expect to be extended. So I was expecting to be extended past my
That's your 12
months that were left.
Yeah.
So
yeah, basically they were looking to extend you past your actual leave date because of the conflict that was going on, and they can do that. They can do that for operational reasons. They can take you up to 18 months from the day you hand your notice in, can't they?
Oh, I didn't know that, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So straight away, I was already asking questions like if we were, because I had 5 months left within the 12 months. I was 5 months left, right? So I was literally, this was going to be my last deployment in the Mediterranean. It was the deployment in Mediterranean, which was already booked in when it was all kicking off. So it was like, expect to be extended if we get involved. Now, there was a parliamentary vote on not to get involved. And I think it was the day after, we put into Augusta in Sicily, unplanned, because some radar or something broke. Wasn't my department. And to fix it, needed like cranes to like take part of the mast away. That's what we were told, or what I was told. So it wasn't a major issue, but the Commodore and Corner, big nose, he ordered us to put it in and make repairs. So I was like, okay, well, we'll put it in and make repairs. Anyway, the ship organized coaches to go into Catania, Sicily. Whilst in Catania, Sicily, well, I've got memory up to a certain point, and it's like somebody flipping off a switch. What I'm told was basically car hit me at high speed, fled the scene, wasn't breathing, had blood coming out of everything, and it was really touch and go. It really.
At this point, Gav, you had 5 months left. Is that right?
Yeah, because I was due to leave. It was the back end of March 2013. I was due to leave. This was like the 5th going into the 6th of November. And obviously you got Christmas and New Year's in the middle as well. So anyway, yeah, so I wasn't in a very good situation. I was in induced coma, artificial hypothermia. They were about to cut open my head to let my brain swell. Because, sorry, my brain was swelling. The intracranial pressure, what I've been told, it was going up and up and up. And the more it goes up, the more blood vessels get squeezed, and then they can burst, or just squeeze and then parts of the brain die. And if it bursts, then there's more pressure, and it just gets worse and worse, like what happened to Michael Schumacher, which obviously I've got a bit of an interest in, because at one point me and him literally could have traded places. Fortunately, I was lucky. They were doing everything to try and calm it down. And what I'm told is they were about to basically start taking parts of my skull out. And they done a test, and the pressure kind of stabilized. So they stayed at high readiness. And then tested me again so long, I don't know how long, but they tested me again, and it then started to go down. So like, right, okay, recovery. We're now in recovery now. I'm still drugged up to the eyeballs. I've got nothing. I've no idea what really was happening. Anyway, Catania wanted to put plates in the back of my skull because the skull fractures. I had some pretty big skull fractures, and for some reason it was like, no, we don't want to do that. And they were insistent. So they were very quick to get me out of that country, very quick. And I must say, the MOD, RAF, and the Royal Navy bent over effing backwards to really sort me out then. And they did. Unfortunately, that was where it all ended. But yeah, I was Casevac by C-17.
How long were you in that hospital for?
I think it was a couple of days or so. But I was Casevac.
Can you remember being Casevac?
No.
No.
I remember waking up being quite negative, but here's a bit of a funny story. And by quoting this, I will swear. Would that be okay, or do you want me to bleep it out?
Just keep minimum if you can.
Yeah, no, it was, it's one swear word, but it's word for word what I said. I wake up in an ambulance. Now, I'm not too sure if this was going to the plane or was coming off the plane. I still don't know really to this day. My memory, everything, and I'm drugged up with eyeballs. But I wake up. I'm in the back of an ambulance. So I'm like, where am I? And they're like, calm down. You've been in a car accident. But I don't fucking drive. No, you were hit by a car. And then I went, that's my first memory. me saying, but I don't drive. No, you hit by a car. Okay. But anyway, I was Casevac to Bryce Norton via C-17. I was blue lighted from Bryce Norton to the QE in Birmingham. That's where my mother, my then fiance, so gone from girlfriend to fiance, was there waiting for me. And I don't know how familiar you are, but when hospitals receive you, they assume you are like nearly dead. Right. So you've got all the machines on you. You literally got everything on. That's how my family and my fiance saw me. So they got one hell of a shock, and they downgrade you or upgrade you, depending on how you look at it. Like, okay, right, he can breathe on his own. His heart's going, and they'll just downgrade and they take all this stuff off. That's where my first proper memories start coming in, and it's not nice, but pain, just pain. Photosensitivity, audio sensitivity. Apparently was deaf completely at one point because this ear canal filled up with blood. Just basically not very nice, but I'm drugged up to the eyeballs. I was, it's not very fond memories. Now, towards the end of my stay, a civvy, which was kind of wearing a uniform, she was going on quite middle-aged, not like elderly, but certainly not of an age to be serving. And I don't know what organization she was, but she was wearing some sort of like military-esque uniform. So I don't know, like when you sometimes see Salvation Army people, something like that. I don't know. And they were coming out and they were saying, we've got like clothes for you and stuff like that. Through SAFA. We can get you a mobile phone, a cheap, crappy one, but some razor blades, some things I could, because I had nothing. Everything was still on my ship, which was still in the Mediterranean, right? Everything. Anyway, I started asking questions then, still not firing all cylinders. Well, what's happening? I'm leaving in a few months' time. What's happening? And eventually, I was sat down. I was told, right, what's going to happen is you're going to be discharged from here. You're going to have like a few days at home, and then you're going to be going to Headley Court, Defence Rehabilitation Medical Centre, Headley Court. So yeah, I was sent there, and trying to cut bits out the story, so I'm not going on and once upon a time kind of stuff. But when I arrived at Headley Court, I was straight away given a joining medical, including like a tuning fork test, which the bang and places your skull. Now, still to this day, I say that finished off my hearing. I still could hear some things, and I've had it fully confirmed it's a dead ear now. But I say that finished off my hearing. But anyway, what I was going back, sorry, when I was told that I was going to be sent to Headley Court, I was told they would assess you over 2 to 3 weeks, write a report, which is basically like a plan, almost word for word what I was told, if I remember correctly. This report, this plan, and then you're given rehabilitation according to that report. But then I was saying, but what about, I'm leaving soon. Bear in mind, this is now back end of November. They couldn't answer any questions. They're not military. Certainly doctors and nurses didn't have an idea, So anyway, I going back to Headley Court. I'm at Headley Court, and straight away I'm starting asking questions there. They don't know, and I don't know if you know yourself, but when in that situation, you are officially there as a guest. You're not assigned to that unit. Because you're not assigned to that unit, you don't have a divisional system, no divisional officer to sort out stuff like this. I found out this afterwards, but so I started asking questions as time went on. And I say time went on, I'm talking about days, a week. Yeah. Started asking what's going on. But I was going through the assessments, and there was days where I would have one appointment on the day. That's it. The afternoon I was doing nothing, bored, absolutely crapless, Friday, as you probably know, nothing after 12. That's it, So there was probably like 2 or 3 days I could really be there. Most of the time wasn't. So it took a while. Now, in December, there's a key event that happens. Christmas. Base shuts down for the New Year's back in January. So I got back in January, the assessments started again, the report was written, this plan, and then I was discharged. Discharged from the rehabilitation centre.
So you discharged from Headley Court at this point. This is December.
January.
In January, sorry. And they've wrote the plan for you. So have they wrote a rehabilitation plan for you?
No. What I was told, it was going to be a report plan, but this report, in my subject access request since, I can see a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of red flags, like treating my pain with prescribed medication, still on target to achieve TX date. That's a direct quote. I've even got it in, one of them booklets over there.
Yeah.
That is a red flag. That says a target is a date, not my care. I've got one record there where it says that I require rehabilitation and support. And then a week later, I don't require any. At this time, I could not, or I could barely write my own name. That is true. So when I was discharged, I started asking questions like, well, what's happened? And what I was told, bear in mind, I've got like a report where I can barely read, right? A report like this, well, maybe this thick, I don't know, but not exactly 1 or 2 pages. It's a report for Christ's sake. So no way I could read it. So I was like, well, what does it say? Well, and what I was told, I was being discharged to continue rehabilitation at HMS Nelson, which is the last unit before you go outside. And to speak to your divisional system, your divisional officer, which would then get assigned once I'm there, about extensions of service, for medical discharge, or perhaps returning back to us for rehabilitation. I was like, okay. And that felt like a bit of a plan of action. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. When I got to Nelson, I went to see the doctor, and I asked about brain rehabilitation, and he said that's at Headley Court, and I was like, well, they've sent me here, and he didn't say anything. He just went. That was his response. Shrug shoulders.
Yeah.
And now to, if this doesn't tell you how bad my treatment, and that's not really a word I tend to use a lot because I didn't really get any, this will really show it. The only rehabilitation I got was for my balance issues, right? I had some bad balance, basically barely walk in a straight line. I had like vertigo due to damage to my ear.
Yeah.
And damage to the cerebellum at the back of your skull, which is your balance and coordination and blah, blah, blah. I got hit twice, in a sense. Now, I was sent to an ankles injury class full of, yeah, you're laughing.
Yeah.
When I told my
That's
former CEO, he never said anything, my former CEO, but he was visibly shocked and disgusted what I believe, because his face painted 1,000 words. But yeah, I was sent to an ankle injury class. To re-emphasize that, everybody there, about 10 people or so, was there with an ankle injury. I was there with a brain injury. That's the only rehabilitation I had. I was offered some rehabilitation for tinnitus, because some people are unlucky where they can't really actively tune it out. I can. I'm lucky. But I've constantly got tinnitus, constantly. And that's the only thing I said, no, it's okay. I don't need it. They're like, oh, we can give you pillows. We can give you this. We can give you that. I'm like, it's all right. I don't hear it unless I think about it really. And then
when you've gone to this rehabilitation, this obviously, you know, when they've sent you to the ankle place for your brain injury, what stage is this at? How long have you got left to serve at this point?
Well, about a month.
So you've got a month left to serve. You've been away on illustrious off the coast of Syria, obviously.
No, that was in the Mediterranean. Sorry.
In the Mediterranean, sorry. Then you've docked, been knocked over, obviously flown back to the UK, been to Birmingham, been to Headley Court, has assessments done on you. All this has been going on since you signed off. So my question is, did you have a chance to do any resettlement for when you left the forces? or what did they say about that?
Well, to finish the last little bit of the story is when I said a month, that actually didn't happen, but only because I got them on a technicality. My DO, the only thing he pretty much done there was to try and refer me off to a thing called Hasler Company. I don't really know what that is, if you've heard of it or not, but I was being referred off to Hasler Company to give me rehabilitation and blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Now, there was a big meeting, there was many officers, and they wanted me to continue this balance rehabilitation for X amount of weeks. And I went, and at one point, I went, sorry, but I can't do that. And they're like, why? Well, my termination leave starts like tomorrow or today. It was either tomorrow or today. And this CEO of Hasler Company, because I think he was the CEO, he turned to this female lieutenant commander, just went, extend him the proper amount of time. And she went, no problem, or yes, sir, or very something short. Wrote in a little black book. You remember what color book it was? Wrote, and I was extended 2 months like that. But I was only there for really about 3 more weeks doing these balance things, and it was like twice a week. But quite often you turn up and there'd be no one there.
Yeah.
When I've questioned about the rehabilitation that I didn't get, I got told I was at Headley Court. I think it was for 43 days, working days, Monday to Friday. I was there, I think they said 43 working days. Now, if you get a calendar out and mark off the working days in December, all the way through to January when I was discharged, including then, I'm not sure what Christmas Day actually landed on, all of them days were counted. Like I mentioned before, the base shuts down. Every day was counted in their response. So if you put a line through them, put a line through pretty much every Friday, like I said, because now it happens, it's more like 20. But anyway, you asked a question and I'll give you an answer. Resettlement. Resettlement constituted of a half an hour conversation with somebody about interview techniques. And I was given leaflets. I had to go somewhere and they give me a few leaflets. That was it.
And that's all you
I
got.
could still barely write my own. Yeah, that's all I got. I could still barely write my own name. I remember shouting, this is at Nelson, shouting at a chief petty officer, female chief petty officer. Bear in mind, I could have been in trouble for speaking to a senior rate like that. You don't, as you know yourself, you don't just gob off. I did gob off because she was handing me paperwork. It was part of like HR. She was like UPO staff or something. Just handed me stuff and like, oh, I can fill this, and I just literally shouted at her. I went, I can barely write my own name. I've got a brain injury. Why do you keep giving me forms to fill out? And instead of shouting back, you know, whoever she is, even if you're watching this, would be lovely. She was actually nice to us. She went, look, I'll tell you what it says, right? I'll circle the answer, I'll fill it in, and you do a squiggle at the bottom. That's exactly what happened. That was not discharged to Nelson to continue rehabilitation and to prepare to leave the service, speak to my divisional officer, blah, blah, blah. I was discharged from a rehabilitation centre to send me to have rehabilitation somewhere else. Kind of a bit ironic there. Surely I should have had rehabilitation at the rehabilitation centre. But yeah.
So obviously your time's gone now. You know, everything that's happened. You've come to the end and you've been discharged. Yeah. Was that still classed as just a normal discharge, or was it classed as a medical discharge?
I was not medically discharged. I was discharged with brain injuries, now fully deaf in one ear. And I'm registered as disabled. Whether I class it as disabled or not, I'm told yes, it is. You know, with the issues that I've got. So I was discharged fully fit, in the same way as a fully fit and able-bodied person was discharged like that. But if I joined or tried to join the very next day, I would be classed as unfit to serve. So why was I not discharged unfit to serve? Now, in the years that's gone by, I have actually found out there is a reference, which I may have seen, you may have seen in my videos, out of BR British record, BR 1991, I can't remember what section, where it says mandatory referral. Basically, if I hit the requirements in paragraph 4, then I should be mandatory referral for medical discharge.
Yeah.
They didn't follow that, and I've been fighting for years. And the language has changed with the Navy over the years. The latest language in my service or special type service complaint was basically saying, well, we can't retrospectively fix it, so what you're fighting for isn't possible, because that's one of the things I've been fighting for, to be retrospectively medically discharged. That's not really the right answer. You know, I'm like, I should have been medically discharged. Why haven't I? And can you retrospectively medically discharge me? For them to turn around and say, well, the thing that you're fighting for doesn't exist.
Shocking, absolutely. So obviously you've been discharged now. Now I know from my experience, when I left the forces, I found it really difficult for housing. Did you have somewhere to go, somewhere to live? You know, because you've been in and out of hospital, you've been in and out of rehabilitation, you know, they've extended your time 2 months. You know, did you actually have somewhere to go? Did you have any sort of a plan what you were going to be doing?
Plan. Didn't have a plan whatsoever, but I did have somewhere to go. In terms of job, I had no plan. that career that I mentioned, that just went up in smoke. You know, if you can barely write your own name or read basics, one-line sentences, you know, how do you expect to do a job that would have been a bit difficult if the injury never happened? I would have had to really gen up, do some advanced courses, and up my game. Since the knock on the head, I've went down a few levels, so that went up in smoke. I had somewhere to go, and it took many months to pick myself up properly. I was still on tramadol for the pain, for the many headaches. I was having like 4 nosebleeds a day. You know, I had one yesterday. I had one the day before. I still get nosebleeds a lot, but sometimes it can be months. I was having 4 or 5 nosebleeds a day. I was on tramadol, which, you know, you're away with the fairies. I had audio sensitivity, just the sound of a bus or a car going, like a big car. I now have to do this because it would literally hurt. This is the only ear I've got, and it would hurt, you know. Direct sunlight, it would hurt my like photosensitivity. You know, being in this room 8 years ago, I would have been in agony, been in well, maybe not agony, but in a lot of pain. So I stayed in bed, or stayed in the house, stayed on the sofa, you know, the blinds drawn. Um, you know, so I wasn't able to work for many months. I slowly but surely picked myself up. We had to move to another place because my fiance found out she was pregnant. The place wasn't big enough for 2 kids, so we moved. And in the process of moving, the bed fell apart. Really, couldn't really. It was like a metal bed. You couldn't put it back together. I didn't have a welder or anything, you know. So we slept on the mattress for months. Slept on the mattress on the floor for months. Any money that we got, right, it made sure our daughter had the clothes, had the food, had a few toys, and bills being paid. And then next in line was make sure that we are fed. And sometimes there was times where I had to ask for handouts through family. You know, ask my nana, who's no longer with us, you know, can I borrow 50 quid? Like, oh, why? I'm like, I've got no food in the house. I'm really struggling. She gave us the 50 quid and went out shopping for us and came back, you know, retired, you know, little old lady with bags of shopping. Like, look, I went shopping. Here's some food and here's the 50 quid, you know. You know, I went through some very hard times.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's not a good experience to start with, leaving the forces, you know. But with you, for yourself, it's obviously it's been a lot worse. With regards to your injuries, can you like describe what's happened since you left that day? You know, what have you gone through? Have you been through any more rehabilitation? You know, and also tell us about any claims or anything like that you've tried to get from the military.
Right, there's quite a bit here, so I'll try and sum it up as very quickly and rush through it, because, you know, I could literally talk for hours and giving you the final detail.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll tell you very quickly. From leaving the service, the transition for, you know, the military to the NHS, there is a bit of a delay in that. So you have got registered at, you got to get registered at a GP, right? So then there's an appointment, and then you go to that appointment, and I can't remember, there's these memory issues, can't specifically remember details, but I remember how to do that. And then there was a delay, and then I got another appointment, and then I was asking about, you know, I never got brain rehabilitation. Bear in mind, this is now, and bear in mind with my issues with what I said, I stayed in the house quite a bit with pain management, photosensitivity, audio sensitive. So there was delays because of that, because I couldn't really leave the house because it was just too hard. So that was probably, I'm trying to guess here. It was probably about June, July time that happened. So when I saw a GP to get, you know, brain rehabilitation, bear in mind, right? I don't know if you know about this about brain rehabilitation, but but brain rehabilitation needs to be given as close to the injury as possible to have the best effect. And I've been told the first 12 months is key. I'm talking about June, July. I may have first seen the GP to ask for a referral. The hit and run happened in November. That's quite a lot of time that I've not had rehabilitation, and most of it was because I was still in the Navy. Now, I got a referral, but you got to wait for an appointment. And the NHS for mental health, them years ago, was getting a lot of flack, and rightly so, I think. So I had to wait for a referral, got the referral, had to see her. I had to then go see her, like, I think it was like a month later. And then she sent, and it was a bit further away, it was in Newcastle. She sent a referral for somebody in Gateshead, where I was, somebody to assess me. I don't know if she was a doctor or a neurologist or care specialist. Can't remember what exactly she was. But I was referred for that. Again, there would be another month or so. So then I started seeing her, right, for about half-an-hour sessions, and they were every couple of months. Right? So you can imagine it took quite a while for her to write a report. And I'm pretty sure that it was over 2 years after the hit and run. And she said that, right, well, I've got this, I've got, she was actually saved a lot of time as well, because she'd done a report, but she wanted to do actual testing. Now, I told her that I've had recent tests through, I finally got a job by then, but it was for pennies. It was like minimum wage, if not a few pence over. It was very hard. They were actually trying to get rid of me because I wasn't so fast. I was fast as other people, and it was a pretty hard job to keep. And I was like, look, it's my issues, you know. Anyway, I was sent off to occupational health or something, who then put me through some testing, and there was a report called a neurocog report. And I told this woman that I've just had these tests done, and she went, well, I can't do these tests then. Wait, well, why? Because you doing the tests again would change the results. I was like, okay. So she actually got a copy of these results and then wrote a report. But what she said in the report is that any rehabilitation offered now would bear little fruit. There'll be little or no improvement, and it wouldn't be a good waste. It wouldn't be a good use of your time. And she was honest. So that kind of fizzled out and nothing, because it was just like, it's been too long. And she said, to credit to yourself, she was, I can't remember what she said exactly, but she was saying, you know, well done for getting back up, getting out there and working and pushing on and trying to get other jobs and stuff like that. It was hard, you know. I've been through a lot of crap, but you know, I've battled through it, and she was just saying, you know, well done, but I don't think we can actually help you much. Now, the final bit where you said about claims. Now, I've been trying to get advice on this for years and years. One solicitor would say get in touch with another solicitor, and it would be passing the buck. And sometimes I would end up back at the beginning, and they're like, oh, we just spoke to you like 3 days ago. I'm like, well, they've been passing it, and it's now back to you. So that was pretty useless. I got in contact with Forces Law, and somebody at Forces Law, one solicitor, advised I should put a service complaint in. And so I put a service complaint in. That was with the Service Complaints Ombudsman. Sorry, that was with the SEC a few years ago. They came back and said it's out of time, because it was over a year after I left. It was, but not like 2, 3, or 5 years. It was like, because it's over a year, it's out of time. And they said also they lack the powers. So that kind of fizzled out and nothing. So anyway, things went on. I got in years later, everything got resurrected, put more service complaints in, or special type service complaints. They fizzled out to nothing because of the biased investigation, which they'll take too much time to explain. But all the time I've been asking for solicitors, legal advice, and it's only recently I've been told there was a 3-year limit to bring a case against the MOD for clinical negligence. And because of that 3-year period, bear in mind a year can pretty much be struck off as I'm not in a fit enough state. Wasn't firing all cylinders. But the remainder of the years, I was trying, but that doesn't wash. It's been 8 years, and I got told about the 3 years. It was like about a month before Christmas. It was about 2 months ago, which is crazy. Now, a little bit of positive news here, and this might. I was waiting for somebody out the window. He waved. I had to wave back. It was being unpolite. Some people might think negative about this and why I'm still fighting for retrospective medical discharge because of what I'm about to say. But I did have a successful claim, not against the military, but against the Motor Insurance Bureau, because it was a hit and run and the person fled. And I was able to get a sum of money, and I was able, luckily, to buy a house outright, which was nice to get out of renting. Very nice to get renting, and it was, pretty hard to get on the housing ladder, to save up money to get a mortgage. Yeah. So when that came in, that was a godsend. That was like, right, get a nice house for me and the kids. Now married with 3 children now. I'm happy got a nice house here. I've got a better job. I've got more money coming into the house. But I look back to what I went through. I should have went through all of that. But I also think, what about the next person? Next person might not be as lucky as me. Next person, the whole world might fall apart, and that's not right. So to fight this, it's not just about me. It's about the other people, and also to get closure, to go back on me, to get closure. Because when you've been wronged, it's pretty hard to get it out of your mind.
Yeah, totally.
I haven't left. I don't know if you've left, but I haven't left. I'm still in my head. It's through my it goes through my head like at least every half an hour. About the Navy. It'd be nice to forget about it for a longer period, days or weeks, and forget about the Navy maybe, and kind of get on with your life a bit more. But I would like to leave the Navy. I would like to close that book and get a bit of closure. And it just winds me up every time I see one of them Royal Navy adverts. Winds me up. I get angry. I shout. I turn over the program, or I shout, you're lying, because I feel like I was lied to. I came out of the Navy disabled with issues, and they couldn't care less. It's crazy. But what winds me up is, in my fighting the Royal Navy in the service complaints procedure, is their language. Some of their language has been very disturbing. And I'd like to share one quote they said, which is, 2 quotes, which is very concerning to anybody who's going to be serving in the Navy. One of them is, service personnel in the last year of service are not normally medically discharged. Normally referred for medical discharge. So why is that person then deployed? Why are they sent out? I was sent out. If I refused, that'd be refusing an order, and if it didn't turn up the day the ship sailed, I'll be AWOL. I'll be in Colchester like that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You have to go, And the second reference, when I've went on about them about my injuries, they say, this says officers and ratings are allowed to leave the service in a reduced medical category. That's 2 quotes from the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
Both, I'm sure you'll agree, are very vague, but very concerning to anybody in the Navy.
Yeah, totally. Anyone in the forces, not just the Navy. I think anyone in the forces, to be fair.
But well, unless they're quotes out of GSPs, it wouldn't really affect the service.
Yeah, but that's come direct from the Navy for yourself, and obviously, like you say, that's really concerned, not just for you, but anybody who's still serving. I mean, I've got a cousin that's in the Navy at the moment. My cousin's kid, he's in the Navy. He's only been in a few years, and you hear things like that, and I've got to think about him as well. Obviously, Gavin, you spoke to us about after the accident. You struggled with your reading and your writing. How's that now? Years on.
Not much better.
No.
Not much better. No, if I've got to write on paper, I don't even write in sentences. Probably, if I'm writing, it's probably like a list or something, like to go shopping or something, and it'll even sometimes doing words. There's like bread or something, or like yogurts, and I'll screw it up, and I'll it's crazy. Jesus, was it? No, it was Matthew. Sorry, Matthew, my 6-year-old. He had these laminated letters, and it was like R, B, and,
phonics.
Yeah, it was something like that, right? And I can't remember what letter it was for the life of me, but it was a letter, and I recognized it, but I could not match it up with an actual letter in my head. Figure out how to say it. Let's say it was F. I couldn't. I recognize it, but it just wasn't joined. That was just one friggin' letter, and that was a few months ago. It was during the whole lockdown thing, teaching from home and all that. It was probably probably between March and the 6 weeks holidays so probably summertime. Couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't like in a few seconds and took you a few seconds. It was like I got like 30 seconds or something, and I was just like, next one. Curly. I think I missed it out. I'm sure I missed it out. That was crazy. But in terms of reading, sometimes I get things sent to me, and I just kind of read it. What I do is skim and look for keywords and try and get the gist. I've got to fight for my PIP again. They've come round and said there's nothing wrong with my hearing, even though I've had a bone-anchored hearing aid. I've got a bit of metal sticking out my skull. I've had problems with it, so I'm getting a different one now. But they're trying to say I've got no issues hearing, even though I've got tinnitus and I'm completely deaf in one ear, because I've had a conversation with somebody. Oh, you're not deaf? I'm like, I am. Here's the medical proof. Oh, wait, you had a conversation with us on the phone. What? But I had to go to independent tribunal 2 years ago. I won. Now it's 2 years later. They've now reassessed me and suddenly went no points for anything. So right now I'm actually going through the same bloody process, stressful process in fighting for PIP. I'll win, but I've got to go through that fight again.
Just to share something with you there, Gavin. I've got another veteran who comes with us, and he's in exactly the same boat with regards to PIP. And I think he was in court last week. So it's quite I think that's quite a common thing, and it's wrong because your injuries, they're there for the world to see, and it's not something of your own doing by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not even that. It's the fact that I've got NHS and some Royal Navy documentation proving I have injuries. These are not mental health issues or things where it's not as easy as putting it down on a bit of paper and having an x-ray and saying, oh right, you see there's a bit of brain missing, or you never had a brain, or oh wait, there's skull fractures there. There's actual medical proof of damage to my hearing, or damage. How I've had hearing tests where there's no beeper, no button, sorry, to press. Literally electrodes put on you, and I got told just lie down. The test will just carry on. It goes on for an hour. You can fall asleep. It will carry on, and it reads the brain waves coming from your brain stem. And then she'll come back after the test and went, "I'm sorry, but you're deaf in one ear." I'm like, really?
I know that.
Sorry, I didn't know that. But yeah, but yeah.
I mean, I just want to say, I just want to say a massive thanks to you for taking the time to share that story with us. You know, but
it's quite complex, and sorry if I've waffled a bit.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. It's shocking, absolutely shocking what you've gone through. You know, and you shouldn't have had to go through that. But can you give us a bit of hope? What's next for you?
What's next? I don't know what's next. The fight continues. I'm fighting and pushing, as you can probably see via my Twitter, for like an independent body to investigate like service complaints. And when I say service complaints, it means specialty type service complaints as well, which a proper definition of that would be a medical service complaint. But they don't call it medical, they call it specialty type, which there's no ombudsman. There's no one to hold the Navy for account. Now, unfortunately, through my fight, I've messaged many of an MP, many of a minister. You know, Jesus Christ, I sent a letter to Cameron when he was Prime Minister.
Yeah.
You know, there's
you contacted your local MPs as well, yeah?
Yeah. But all he can really do is write to a minister, the Veterans Minister, like Mark Lancaster, who was the Veterans Minister, then to Tobias Elwood, who was the Veterans Minister, who's now Chairman of the Defence Select Committee, to now Johnny Mercer. And what they come back is, with their line is, put a service complaint in. I got a letter from Johnny Mercer about 2 days ago, saying, and now, as you probably have seen by my YouTube channel, I withdrew my last service complaint because I already had the investigation's conclusions in front of me. So I withdrew it, but I withdrew it in protest because I was basically saying, I'm not playing your games anymore. If you can't look at facts, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm going to play my game and tell the truth to the world. So his last response, his last response, his first real response was, I withdrew my service complaint. You know, like almost like, you withdrew it, you've accepted it, deal with it. No, that's not right. Surely the Veterans Minister, if he looked at this with any detail, could see what I've described this evening and see at least some injustice. And that would then raise questions. And then all you have to do would look at the detail and go, that's not right, and perhaps do something about it. But the problem is they don't do anything. They just kick the can down the road. They say, put a complaint in. If you're not happy with a complaint, a service complaint, then go to the Service Complaints Ombudsman, Armed Forces. That's the ombudsman for service complaints, but not special type, not medical. So there's no ombudsman for my kind of complaint because it's about medical discharge, about rehabilitation. And it's just the same thing going on. And honestly, if there was an Olympic sport for sitting on one's hands, there is plenty of people I've spoken to that would, you know, be champions.
Yeah.
Like the veterans ministers, the Secretary of Defense or Defense Secretary, I'm not sure which way around that goes, Secretary of State. You know, I've been in contact with Gavin Williamson, Penny Mordaunt, Ben Wallace, as I said, Cameron, Theresa May, got no response from her. I even got in contact with the Queen and basically was reporting the conduct of the Royal Navy and the MOD and like, look, this is not right, and nobody's stepping up. And she came back and said, I say she, Her Majesty came back and said that she can't get involved because she's got to be independent at all times. And as sovereign of the United Kingdom, she must be impartial or independent at all times. Now, I don't know how many people you've met who can say they've argued back. I sent a letter, which I had no response. And I went, with all due respect, Your Majesty, I said that defense of the sovereign and the sovereignty of the country should go above all forms of politics. This is not party politics. It doesn't matter if you're Conservative, Labour, whatever. It doesn't matter. The SNP doesn't matter. It's the defence of the United Kingdom, the defence of England, when no matter what side of the fence you sit on. And if there's nobody that will actually fight for the forces themselves, the troops themselves, you know, yeah, if there's nobody who can hold them to account, then who holds them to account? Nobody. So they can get away with it. And I think there needs to be a big reset, how things are handled now. Big reset of how things are handled now. And I think an independent body is needed. And there has been one announced under the SNP's manifesto pledge of their last election, the Independent Defence Authority, which got launched in January. So I'm putting a lot of hope in that, and hopefully it gets accepted and rolled out countrywide.
Do you have a solicitor representing you at the moment?
I've tried, and the whole 3-year time limit keeps coming up. One thing that Johnny said a day or two ago is I can challenge the 3-year, but I honestly, 3 years, 8 years. If it was 4 years, perhaps. 3 years, 6 months, perhaps. But I very much doubt anybody would really look at it being 8 years. I've had Hillary Meredith solicitors, David Poole, who they referred me on to simply say it is out of time, which is crazy.
It is. It is.
One thing I've put on Twitter, you may have not seen, why should a time limit that I never knew about until months ago, stand in the way of getting, in my words, justice? Shouldn't.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Obviously, Gavin, you know, you've been through the ringer, mate. I just want to say thanks very much, you know, for coming on. Thanks very much for telling your story and sharing it with us. And it's been an absolute pleasure to sit here and listen to your story. And I just really hope that one day you do get the justice you deserve, mate. Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's not just about me though, it's about others as well.
Yeah, of course it is. Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you very much.